Good morning. Today we are continuing with unit 8. We are working, yesterday we worked on those ratios. Today we are going to write and compare rates. So we're going to find out what that means to write and compare rates. So in order to do that, we need to know what a rate is. Gentlemen, attention is up here. A rate is a ratio of two quantities measured in different units. So we have an airplane climbs 18,000 feet in 12 minutes. So the rate is 18,000 feet every 12 minutes. So we have those two different units of measurement. We have the feet to minutes. How many feet can we go in how many minutes? So that is our rate. Do you have a question, Peyton?
No, I was going to answer it.
Oh, it's.
I'm not supposed to answer it?
It's not a division problem.
Oh.
Okay, when we're working with ratios and rates, we've shifted gears from percentages. These are different units of measurement that we can't convert. So we can't divide them if they're not the same measurement. So we can't divide feet by minutes. I'm going to show you what we can do. What we can do is we can simplify it.
By 2.
So I could divide a 12 out. Greatest common factor would be 12. If I divided a 12 out of 18,000, I get 1,500. 12 divided by 12, I get 1. So I can go 1,500 feet in 1 minute. So when you're driving a car, you'll see the speedometer. Okay, you might notice mom and dad's speedometer or speed limit signs. You see those speed limit signs and it says 40 mph. mph is miles per hour. So how fast can we go in miles per hour? Speedometers on the car are in miles per hour. So for every 1 hour, you can go this many miles. So if you're going 40 miles per hour, you can go 40 miles in 1 hour. That's how fast you should be going. You don't want to go faster because it's not safe and you could get a ticket. We call that the unit rate. A unit rate has a denominator of 1. So when we're finding the unit rate of something, we always break it down to a 1 on the bottom. So we have to simplify it down. We're not dividing our numerator by denominator because they are different measurements. So we can't divide them. So let's look at our unit rates. A rate that has a denominator of 1 unit. Example, $9 per hour is a unit rate. So we can make $9 every 1 hour that we work. That's a dollar sign. That's a goofy looking dollar sign. $9 every hour. That is your unit rate. In order for it to be a unit rate, it has to have that 1 on the bottom. So 18,000 feet over 12 minutes is not a unit rate. It's just a rate. In order to find the unit rate, we need to break it down to 1 unit. You need a 1 on the bottom. These 3 units are equivalent. So just like we were talking about the ratios, there are different ways to write it, and they mean the exact same thing. Same thing with our rate. 15 miles over 1 hour is the same as 15 miles per hour. And it's the same as writing it all out, 15 miles per hour. They all mean the same unit rate. So you could have the 15 over the 1, but we know 15 divided by 1 is 15, right? We know with that 1 on the bottom, we could just say 15 miles per hour. So it's important that we have that miles per hour. Finding the unit rate. During a peak growing season, the kudzu vine can grow 6 inches in 12 hours. What is the peak growth rate of kudzu in inches per hour? So we want to put they want inches per hour. So the inches goes on the top. We know it can grow 6 inches. Hours goes on the bottom. What do I have to do to find the unit rate, Gabby? What did I say we have to do to find a unit rate? What do we have to get for our denominator? Okay, so I'm going to have you move over to this table so you'll pay attention. Lily? We need a 1 on the bottom. How do I get a 1 on the bottom, Lily? If it's 12, what do I have to do? Divide by 12. So all you have to do is divide by that number, and I know it will be a 1 on the bottom. So whatever I do to my bottom, I have to do to the top. So I have to do 6 divided by 12. Nick?
I have a question.
Yes.
Are we always going to divide with by 12 or whatever numbers on the bottom?
We want this to be a 1. So it has to be whatever number is on the bottom so we can get that 1. So you're dividing it by itself, so you'll end up with a 1. So what is 6 divided by 12, Tristan?
0.5.
0.5 inches. So it grows half an inch every hour. So it's half an inch per hour. Does that make sense? Nick had a great question. Do we always divide it by 12? Nope. We divide it by the denominator. When you divide a number by itself, you get 1 for an answer. So you're always dividing the denominator by itself. So now let's look at speed. We're going to be finding the unit rate when we look at speed. We talked about that miles per hour. So if you know the distance traveled and the time and the travel time for a moving object, you can find the average rate or average speed by dividing the distance by the time. So distance goes on top, time goes on the bottom. So we have it right there. Average rate equals distance over time. Put a little star next to it. You need to know that the average speed, the average rate, average speed is distance over time for your average speed. So let's say you biked 68 miles in 4 days. Find the unit rate. How do I set it up? Anthony?
68 over 4.
So now I don't want to forget my measurements. Because if I don't put the measurements on there, I might accidentally forget and divide 68 by 4, because I'm so used to dividing my numerator by my denominator, because we've been working that. So make sure you put your measurements on there so you don't forget. So 68 miles divided by 4 days. What's my next step, Kira?
If you you simplify 68 over 4, or is this different?
We want to find the unit
You
rate.
have to divide it
By what?
by the denominator.
Why am I dividing it by the denominator, Nolan?
Because I heard you earlier, and I'm just assuming that's what you said.
So why do we want to divide the denominator by the denominator?
Because it makes it get 1.
To get 1. We want a 1 on the bottom for that unit rate. So we're going to divide by 4. 4 divided by 4 gets me to my 1 day. For that unit rate, our magic number is 1 on the bottom. 1 for the denominator. So 4 divided by 4 got me 1. Whatever I do to my denominator, I have to do to my numerator. So what's my new numerator, Gregory?
17.
If I do 68 divided by 4, you get 17 miles. So my unit rate is 17 miles per day. 17 miles per 1 day. So it would be 17 miles per day. I would accept it either way. They both mean the same thing. Remember, we had the 3 different ways to write it. So you could do it as 15 over 1. You could do it as 15 miles per hour. So you could write 17 miles per day. So, Nolan, why did we divide it by 4?
Because it equaled what is 1.
Because we want it to equal 1. Yes. Kira, do you know what we're doing now?
Yeah, I did it right. I just said it wrong.
Okay. But it's good that we learn the terminology, so that way when we see it written out in other places, we understand how to do it. Okay? Does that make sense? To find that unit rate, divide that denominator by itself, so we get a 1. Whatever we do to the denominator, we have to do to our numerator. All right, let me erase this so I can scroll up. Comparing unit rates. So if we're going to compare things, we're going to have to find the unit rate of both, right? Because we want to be able to compare them. So we need to find that unit rate of both of them. So let's say a store sells the same pasta the following 2 ways. It sells it as 10 pounds of bulk pasta for $15, and it also sells it as 2 pounds of packaged pasta for $3.98. So we could go to Costco and get a big bag of pasta for $15. We could get that 10-pound bag of pasta, and Mr. Gambino will be in heaven because he loves his pasta. My Italian man goes for the pasta. Or we could go to Target and get a 2-pound bag of pasta for $3.98. Which one is a better buy?
Costco.
In order to know for sure, because sometimes Costco sells something in bulk and it's not a better deal. You have to be careful. So sometimes bulk deals are not better. So you want to be able to compare the unit rates of both of them. So bulk pasta, how do I write that? Because I need my unit rate. So what's my first step? Brielle? £10 over $15. I have to write the rate that they give me. I want to know the unit price. What is that unit rate for it? How do I find it, Gabby? So what do I have to divide by to make the denominator 1? Divide by 15, so my denominator will be 1. I want it to be $1. So what is 10 divided by 15? Landon? 0.6?
Yeah.
So I can buy 0.6 pounds for $1. Okay, so let's see what we get for our 2-pound package and see if that's a better deal. So what's my first ratio that I start with? What's my first rate? Tristan?
It's 2 over 398.
2 puppies?
2 pounds.
2 pounds over $3.98. So what do I have to do to turn that into a unit rate, Will G?
Divide it by 3.98.
I need to get a 1 for my denominator, so I'm going to divide it by 3.98. So I get $1. And how many pounds can I buy for that dollar?
Okay,
No, it would be. Wouldn't it be a?
Would it be that?
Yeah, I got like
Yeah.
a bunch of numbers.
I got
Say-
a bunch of numbers.
I got 0.
So that's
I'm
what
not
you're-
two. I'm not two. I'm not two.
628. I got 0.5 the same.
So,
We all got the same.
Yeah, I got.
what do you think we need to do? We have to round it. So if I had 0.6 up here, I'm gonna round it to that 10th place. So what am I rounding it to?
I flipped it and I got one.
Yeah, no, flip it.
Oh, like this?
So what do I round it to, friends? No, I want to go to my 10th place. So what number did you have? 0.50625. No, we were, friends. It was something like that. I said we had a 10th place for our 10-pound package. So we want to round to our 10th place for this. So what would it be rounded to the 10th place? It's not 1, Anthony. The 1's place is not to the 10th place. Will W. 0.5. $1 could buy me 0.5 pounds. Which one does $1 buy more of? Okay, it can't be both of them. They're different numbers.
I told you.
Costco this time wins out. I can buy more of that pasta for $1. Friends, I'm recording. I can buy more pasta for $1 if I buy it in bulk. So this is why it's important when we compare our two rates, we bring them both down to that same unit rate on the bottom. Okay, we can compare $1 to $1. I can buy more pounds for $1 than I can if I went to Target. Okay, so when we're comparing our unit rates, you bring them both down to $1. They're both pounds to dollar, so we're able to compare it. Zoe? Yes? I'm rounding to the 10th place, so I had to look at the 100th place. Yep. We were rounding the 10th place, so you have to look at the 100th to round to the 10th. Okay. So our homework for today, I have page 101 to 102 written down. Let me look at that. We have plenty of time. We are going to do both pages, 101 to 102. So both pages, 101 to 102. Thank you to my friends that have remained quiet and respectful. We will say goodbye to our friends at home. We hope you are well.